In 2016, the Baltimore Orioles finished the regular season with an 89-73 record, with players like Chris Davis and Adam Jones in the lineup, Kevin Gossman at the top of the rotation, and Zach Britton shutting the door in the ninth inning. Oh yeah, and some 23-year-old named Manny Machado. Unfortunately, they would go on to lose in the wildcard round to the Toronto Blue Jays, and that would be the last time that we've seen the Baltimore Orioles in the playoffs. After that, from 2017 through 2021, the Orioles put up a record of 253 wins and 455 losses, with 3 seasons of over 100 losses in 2018, 2019, and 2021. It was clear at this point, Baltimore was in full rebuild mode. During these years, they ended up drafting 21st overall, 11th, 1st, 2nd, and 5th in the first round. But in 2022, things seemed to start to come together for the Orioles, and they finished the regular season 83-79, only 3 games back of the final wildcard spot. The offense struggled a bit with making contact, finishing 20th in average and 22nd in on base because they were way too aggressive at the plate, chasing a ton and swinging more often than most teams in the league. But they showed a little bit of power there, finishing 14th in slugging, and overall, this had them about lower mid in offense, 20th in OPS, and tied for 16th in WRC+. Their rotation was bottom 10 in baseball, finishing 21st in ERA and 22nd in fielding independent pitching because they got hit way too hard, way too often. And when you get hit hard, you really don't want that to be in the air, and unfortunately, that's how these pitchers ended up getting hit. Their philosophy was to attack the zone and not give up a lot of walks, but they ended up pitching more to contact and not getting a whole lot of strikeouts out of this. Now on the flip side, their bullpen was top 10 in baseball, finishing 9th in ERA and tied for 9th in FIP. Again, just attacking the zone and not giving up any walks, but pitching more to contact and not getting a whole lot of strikeouts out of this. The reason the Orioles did this though is because they had a top 10 defense behind them, tied for 9th in defensive runs saved, 6th in UZR per 150, and Fangraphs had them as the 7th best defense overall in baseball. As a whole, this team started to show some promise. There were some bright spots despite the flaws that this team clearly had. But more importantly, there are some really young, exciting players on this roster. Going into his age 28 season, you have center fielder Cedric Mullins, who showed not only really good defense out in center field, but speed as well, covering a ton of ground and swiping 34 bases last year. He's limited the amount of strikeouts that he gets over his career, and last season put up a 106 WRC+, after hitting 30 home runs and a 136 WRC+ in 2021. Also going into his age 28 season, right fielder Anthony Santander improved his approach and had a career year because of this, hitting 33 home runs, a 773 OPS, and a 120 WRC+. But these are just the diamonds in the rough that the Orioles have found. 2019's number 71 overall prospect is first baseman Ryan Mountcastle. Going into his age 26 season, so far has struggled with his approach at the plate, but still has a career 774 OPS and 112 WRC+, going into only his 3rd full season. 2016's number 30 overall prospect is shortstop Jorge Mateo, going into his age 28 season. Now, he struggled with the bat so far, but put up great defensive numbers at shortstop last season. 14 defensive runs saved and 11 outs above average. 2018's number 23 overall prospect is left fielder Austin Hayes, going into his age 27 season. Also a kind of guy that's limited the amount of strikeouts that he's had and put up a 106 and a 105 WRC+ over the last 2 seasons, his first full 2 seasons in the major leagues. But the main piece here is 2021's number 2 prospect and 2019's number 1 overall pick, catcher Adley Rutschman, going into his age 25 season, who debuted last year with an 807 OPS, a 133 WRC+, and was just one of the best well-rounded catchers in baseball, putting up 5.3 FWAR. Now in the rotation too, you have starting pitcher Dean Kramer going into his age 27 season, who had a 3.23 ERA and a 3.83 FIP last season. 125 1/3 innings, limited the amount of walks that he gave up, and did a really good job of just keeping the ball in the yard. The bullpen has a handful of pieces here. First, with closer Felix Bautista going into his age 28 season after debuting last year with a 2.19 ERA and a 2.91 FIP in 65 plus innings. You also have relievers Cionel Perez going into his age 27 season after a 1.4 ERA and a 2.8 FIP last year in 57 plus innings, as well as Brian Baker going into his age 28 season after a 3.27 ERA and a 2.75 FIP in 66 innings. There's a young core here for this team to build around, and if you learned anything about any of these players, let me know by hitting the like button. But that's not the only thing to be excited about for this team, because they have another wave of top 100 prospects that are most likely gonna be on this roster by the end of the season. You have the number 1 prospect, shortstop third baseman Gunnar Henderson, and the number 7 prospect, starting pitcher Grayson Rodriguez, who was the 2018 11th overall pick in that rebuilding time, are both expected to make this team on opening day. Henderson put up an 866 OPS in 246 games throughout the minors, showing a really good power-speed combo, hitting 37 home runs and stealing 40 bases, and made his debut last year and looked pretty good. Rodriguez put up a 2.47 ERA through 292 innings in the minors, with high strikeout kind of stuff and limiting the amount of good contact against him, keeping the amount of hits and home runs to a minimum all the way up through the AAA level. But there's still 2 other picks from this rebuilding time that the Orioles have in the top 100 here. The number 40 overall prospect, 2021's 5th overall pick, outfielder Colton Cowser, has an 895 OPS through 170 games in the minors, 21 home runs and 25 stolen bases, a little power speed as well, again all the way up through the AAA level, as well as the number 97 prospect, 2017's 21st overall pick, starting pitcher DL Hall, who has a 3.40 ERA through 301 1/3 innings in the minors. Again, high strikeout kind of stuff from him, but struggled with his command a bit. Debuted last season mostly out of the bullpen with a 5.93 ERA, but a 1.65 FIP. Also in the top 100, the Orioles have number 74 overall prospect, infielder Jordan Westburg, who has an 859 OPS through 250 games with 42 home runs all the way through the AAA level, as well as the number 99 prospect, middle infielder Joey Ortiz, with a 774 OPS through 228 games, showing a really good approach with 96 walks to 167 strikeouts. So the future is right now for Baltimore. This is a really exciting time for a team that's been going through a rebuild over the last couple of years, where you've got this first wave of players who have come up and established themselves at the major league level just in time for the next group of young talent to come up and add on to this team and hopefully push them into potentially this could be a playoff team this next year, or they might still need to take some bumps and bruises first to be able to get there. So I want to hear your thoughts on what we can expect from this team in 2023. Now, one of the teams they're going to have to overcome to get into this playoff picture is probably going to be the New York Yankees. And if you want to find out why they collapsed in the second half of 2022 and what you can expect from the Yankees in 2023, check out this video right here, or you can check out the video that YouTube recommends for you next.